let's talk a little bit further about Deion Sanders. Okay, I know that we've gone a lot of this hour bringing up the whole Colorado upset win over TCU, and that's one thing. And I know that we can go ahead and say that they're being overhyped, but when you are a team, an organization, a program that gets all the headlines, all the conversation, all the chatter of the offseason for negative reasons, and you have a bunch of people sitting and waiting in the wings, eating their popcorn, and hoping and praying for the opportunity that they can say, I told you so. I told you so. You get to go ahead and start off the show. And we didn't have a show yesterday because it was Labor Day. So we get to now address this on Tuesday. Colorado may come back down to reality very soon. They also may have the opportunity to basically double their wins by next week. They play against Nebraska, and Nebraska did not look great in their season opener against Minnesota. After that, they'll play Colorado State. So before they even have a regular season matchup against conference teams in the Pac-12, they may be undefeated. They may be ranked. And then they go ahead and they take on Oregon. Oregon looked good. Oregon put a literal beatdown. If there was ever an opportunity to throw up a TVMA logo, that'd be the place to do it. In an 81-3 victory over Portland State. Now, how do they handle that game? How do they handle facing off against USC in week 5? How do they handle taking on teams like Oregon State and Utah later on in the season? How do they handle a team like UCLA? Because it's easy to go ahead and say that you punched your ticket and strutted your stuff in week 1 when everyone and anybody is still trying to figure out what their roster is. But once you have game film, once you have tape, once people are able to see what you can produce, that's really where you separate yourself in the pack. And I think that right now, Colorado is going to be better than I expected. Colorado is going to be better than I think most of us expected. If you were to ask most college football pundits, people who eat, live, and breathe the sport, 24 months out of the year, really, I know it's 12 months, but you double the months because that's how double enticed we are with the sport. We literally cannot stop talking about it. They would probably say at most Colorado was about a 5-7 win team. They would be able to get some wins here and there, maybe an upset over in Arizona, probably be able to beat up on Stanford. Maybe they would find a way to hold their own against a Washington State, a Colorado State, and Nebraska. But about 4-8, 5-7 was the overall prediction of the record. I think that's about the same still. Maybe they end up proving me wrong. And I would love to be proved wrong because Deion Sanders is waiting. He's salivating. He is loving the fact that he was counted out, that he was put against the grain, that people were automatically saying that the way that he handled things, the way that he did about his business was wrong. And now the way that he's doing it seems right. I would love to be wrong on Colorado. I don't know if I am. But the one thing that I always hate about people in this industry, and the one thing I hate about people who always get to have a microphone and a platform, when the culture and the persona changes, the narrative changes. Nope, it's still the same for me. I believe this team at the start of the year was going to be about a 4-8 win team. I think at most they're probably about a 6-6 win team. I'm going to stick to my guns and say just because you handled business week 1 against a TCU team that lost its starting quarterback, lost its starting running back, lost its go-to wide receiver, lost multiple players defensively, and its offensive coordinator doesn't mean that you will be able to sustain this when you face off against a Caleb Williams, when you take on a Bo Nix, and when you face the gauntlet that is the Pac-12 in 2023. Here's the other thing that I want to take away. Deion Sanders is just getting started. Let's get this out of the way. Deion Sanders is just getting started because it wasn't the fact that this game was a headliner to open up the regular season. Like everybody saw how the promo ads and how multiple media outlets were having interviews and doing sit-down conversations and bringing Deion onto their program to talk about the future of Colorado football. Well, they were doing that because of Deion is a big-time name. Deion is somebody who is wonderful and delightful and honestly is a great quote for the media. He's awesome for radio. He's fantastic for television. It's why he made a career out of it when he was done playing football. I mean, he was on the NFL Network and on multiple major networks for years after his playing days. And he carried that same persona that he was as a player, as a broadcaster, and as an analyst. And he's doing the exact same thing as a head coach. That's the biggest thing, is that he's doing the exact same thing. He hasn't changed who he is. And why should he? Why should he change his brass, bold personality when it seems to work? But that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is that the fact that that game was on national television, where kids were waking up on Saturday morning, going to football practice and rewatching the film from Friday Night Lights and having to go home and be able to relax on the rest of the Saturday. They were able to see a glimpse of what Colorado could be. And the first thought probably in their heads as a recruit is, could I be a part of that? Could I be a part of something special like that? And if I can, what's stopping me from going to Boulder and working with a guy like Prime? What is stopping me from being a part of an organization and a program that has belief and buy-in from the players, belief and buy-in from the coaching staff, boosters, the athletic director, everyone is locked in, and they are giving Deion Sanders full control of this organization to build it in his image? Can I be the reason that this team ends up one day winning a national title? That's the first thing that I thought. And what's interesting is I had a few buddies who work for CBS Sports. I had a buddy that works for ESPN. They were at the game. They were there on the sidelines. They were watching as players and recruits were actually on a recruiting trip for TCU. And they were enamored and they were infatuated and they could not take their eyes off Deion Sanders. And if Deion wants you on his team and Deion sees the reason why you could be an X factor en route to winning a national title, you're going to consider that option. And there's going to be a lot of players that at one point thought Colorado, nope, not going there. That becomes their primetime destination. That becomes their go-to spot. That becomes the ultimate end goal for them. Just like a lot of kids want to go to Georgia, just like a lot of kids want to go to Alabama, to LSU, to Ohio State, to Michigan, because of the culture, the premise, and the upside of what they could be as a developmental player to continue their dreams of making it to the NFL. That's exactly the first thing. And the other thing, Deion Sanders is about to change the way that I think a lot of people look at college football when it comes to hiring processes. Because let's just say he goes 8-4 his first year. He not only septupled the win total from last season, an 11-1 roster. He not only overnight reconstructed the program in his image, and it worked to a T. And he not only was able to produce by winning in the transfer portal and with recruits on National Signing Day, he also did it in a year. So if you're sitting there at, say, a major institution like Florida or Texas, or we'll go UCLA, or maybe we'll even go to a school such as Clemson after last night, and you're seeing the way that Deion Sanders comes in and the way that he's able to produce and the way that he's able to build a roster and beat compelling teams, that's going to push up the patience clock on a lot of coaches, and they're going to be feeling the pressure to have to deliver. And not only that, you're going to start to see more former players who maybe don't have a lot of coaching experience, but do understand the X's and O's, the do's and don'ts, the dots and D's of the game, and they're going to want to get in the building. And a lot of them are going to get the opportunity to, maybe as assistants, maybe as coordinators, but if they end up working out and they end up doing a great job recruiting, they're going to get their opportunity. The thing about Deion and what he did this past weekend was show that not only his way works and not only his method can be sustainable, but it also shows that other institutions might be willing to follow suit if they have the end goal of winning a national title.
In times of...
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.